Good morning and welcome. I'm Professor Elizabeth Prodromo, and I teach here at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, where I direct the initiative on religion, law, and diplomacy and advise our Fletcher Student Club on religion, law, and diplomacy. The Student Club leads our flagship event, our annual conference, and today's conference theme on religion, science, and diplomacy underscores the mission of the initiative, which is to build religious literacy among future leaders who are being trained at the Fletcher School. The issues at the core of today's conference, the complementarities, contradictions, synergies, antinomies between religion and science, are ones that leaders in diplomacy and IR practice, academic research, practitioner work, and across the diverse communities of religion and science facing each and every day in our world. As I mentioned, our annual conference is part of our initiative, and our initiative also includes coursework, capstones, field research projects, and faith-based leadership training through executive education. All of these bring together our efforts to advance religious literacy in international affairs. We're especially excited to have with us today our Dean, Rachel Kyte, who will launch our conference today. Dean Kyte has been the leader of the Fletcher School since October 2019. She came to us from a distinguished career and distinguished service at the United Nations and at the interstices of the public and private sector. Her presence with us today, and thank you, Dean Kyte, for being with us, I think speaks to the recognition that religious literacy, and in particular, literacy on religion, science, and diplomacy, takes when it comes to training present and future leaders in our world. Dean Kyte, I turn it over to you. And again, I thank you for being with us to launch.
Well, Professor Prodromo, thank you so much. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the 6th annual conference of Fletcher's Initiative on Religion, Law and Diplomacy. This initiative was launched in 2014, led by Professor Prodromo, serving as the faculty director for a series really of programmatic activities, including this annual conference, and lecture series, research projects, courses, leadership training, and policy collaboration, always designed to provide a framework for the interdisciplinary study and practice of international affairs through the lens of religious literacy. This conference is organised by the Religion, Law and Diplomacy Student Club, who lead on all aspects of its development and operation, putting Fletcher students at the forefront of the school's premier event, recognising religion's role in global affairs. We have a long and proud tradition at Fletcher of student-led conferences, and this team for this conference, even though we are all still remote, has really made me very proud, and they've done a really extraordinary job. Recognising that leadership demands multidisciplinary knowledge and a complex skill set and quite some stamina as well, the Fletcher School has been committed to the kinds of intellectual rigour and agility, as well as practical innovation and impact that is really needed in order to advance peace through justice, equity and sustainability in this world. Foundational to an exploration of religious literacy at Fletcher is creating the space to challenge assumptions about and thereby to enhance understanding of religious ideas and actors in addressing the world's most existentially urgent issues. And I hope that increasingly we explore this in each of the fields of study at Fletcher. The theme of today's conference is religion, science and diplomacy. It hopes to capture the importance of exploring that relevance. The panels in which you'll participate on the intersection of religion and public health, climate change and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction convene world-class scholars, researchers, policymakers and practitioners from the diversity of religious and scientific communities that are tackling these issues in real time. This, of course, goes very close to my heart, given my career and my continuing involvement in arguments and moves for action to combat change. For the last 10 years, well, for decades, but in particular in the last 10 years, it has been religious communities and religious leaders that have spoken out at critical moments of inflection in order to jog international leaders, the business community, the financial community, and each other towards a more purposeful embrace of the complexity of the response to climate impacts. It has been many religious leaders and religious communities and spiritual communities that have really pushed hard for the understanding of climate justice as being a framework for action. I think most recently at the passing of Thich Nhat Hanh and the extraordinary outpouring from climate leaders, both in civil society, in business and in government worldwide, speaking openly on social media and elsewhere about how he had been able to draw them into a personal practice in their climate advocacy and their climate leadership, but also how he had been able to open up space for important dialogue about what it meant to transform our world, as climate is everything, and so everything is impacted by climate change. I think of the personal leadership of Cardinal Turkson, as he has helped different Holy Fathers begin to move the Catholic Church and the Catholic Church's bureaucracy and international financial dealings towards a pathway to sustainability. And then the knock-on effect of the preaching and of the calling to the faithful and beyond of the current Pope for climate action. I'm thinking about how religious leaders appear at climate negotiations, about how the interplay of religious leaders and political life in each country push countries towards decisions and public dialogue about what will be needed in order to be transformative in our response to climate change in a way that we take care of everyone. COVID-19 has pulled a band-aid off the idea that we can advance our own interests without advancing those of everyone. We are not safe unless everyone is safe. That can find many origins in religious teachings across all faiths, but it is something that we struggle with in public policy, both in response to COVID and in response to climate change. I'm really delighted that we've got a number of speakers today that will talk about the impact of the faith community on the way in which our financial systems are organized in pursuit of goals of sustainability and in pursuit of action based on the science. And it's been extraordinary to me in my work at Sustainable Energy for All, in the mobilization of faith communities around a simple concept that everyone should have light, that everybody should have access to clean, affordable, reliable energy, and that of course would be foundational in a response to the science of climate change, but it would also be foundational in response to our teachings around equity and justice, and it would be foundational for countries and communities and families to be able to think about how to become more prosperous going forward. But it has been religious communities both in their solidarity, but also in the mobilization of their pension funds and their investments. It has been religious communities in their lobbying and the extremely adept shareholder action by some that have really pushed and pushed and pushed for us to recalibrate and rethink what our financial system means today if it is to underpin a transformation towards a greener, cleaner, fairer and juster world. So the globality and locality of the impacts of COVID-19, the reverberations of our war on nature, natural disasters, species extinction, the changes in the concept and management of violence associated with chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear weapons, all of these developments challenge religious and scientific communities to understand how they cooperate, how they talk to each other, the languages that they use, and to consider how and why they may differ over the causes and responses to the issues that preoccupy our speakers today. I'm pleased that Martin Palmer, who is the founding president and chief executive of Faith Invest, is here today. He is a remarkable leader and brings many, many, many years of experience heading International Charitable Foundation for religious communities and faith-based institutional investors to consider, as I said before, how sustainable values-based investment affects the intersection of religion and science. So our students have worked very hard with Professor Prodruma to get us to this point. Now it's over to you. I hope that you can engage fully and purposefully and mindfully in this conversation. I hope that we will all leave today with much thought and I'm sure with much more determination towards action. Congratulations to all of you involved in the conference. This is really a very important day for Fletcher. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you, Dean Kyte, for being with us. Much appreciated, and we hope you'll be able to be part of the day's proceedings. Thank you. I'm now going to turn things over to Shelby Sanger, who is the student brains behind our first panel. Shelby is a second-year MALD, Masters of Art in Law and Diplomacy student here at the Fletcher School. And Shelby, I turn it over to you to introduce our first panel on religion and public health.